Altair Insights podcast. This is a place where space meets business. So I thought who to have best rather than yourself to talk about space and business. And obviously you being a vice president of public sector at Maxar Technologies, widely known company, definitely one of the leading companies as I see, and providing in terms of data. But obviously who's done better than myself rather than reading out that I see in front of us, if you give us just an introduction of who you are and how did you ended up working with Maxar.
All right. So yeah, I grew up in India. I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering and master's in industrial engineering and operations research. Mm-hmm. And it so happened that I was hired out of the campus to develop a GIS system during the late 80s on a VAX VMS system, right? Mm-hmm. Who would have thought that I would have come one full circle, right? From GIS to government applications, and moved to IBM. Spent 25 years in IBM doing all kinds of government and public sector related solutions, a little bit of dabbling in healthcare, but predominantly government focused. Right. I've grown through the ranks in IBM, working at a Singapore level, then at an ASEAN country level, Asia Pacific, growth markets, and then finally global as well. So I was at one point leading all of global government solutions for IBM. All the while living out of Singapore. So never really moved out of Singapore for kids and family reasons and all that stuff. Right. But never really saw a need to do that because I could actually do the job effectively, right. Without costing the company a whole lot more money. So right. Yeah, so after 25 years, surprise, surprise, a few IBM colleagues joined Maxar, and they knew my background of having started in GIS, but now heavily focused on public sector. So they thought that I would be a natural fit to come and take the leadership role in Asia Pacific to start with, because they wanted a new leadership there to bring about some growth in the business, which has been stagnating for a while. Mm-hmm. So I joined Maxar in February 2020, just a month before the pandemic hit. Wow. So I literally got to see HQ for one trip and India as the first business trip for a week. That's it. For 2.5 years, locked up at home.
Wow. Talk about timing.
Timing, yeah. So it's a new team, not having met them in person. It's all through Zoom, new set of clients, new set of partners. So I must say that I'm actually quite amazed as to what we could achieve in spite of all that. Because if you asked me all of that before, I would have said, no way, forget it.
Not possible.
Not possible, especially in Asia, right? Because the human touch is important, the relationships are important, all of that stuff. So I thought I'm quite amazed as to how we actually turned the business around.
Well, I guess companies just adapted also as kind of going back from that touch, and it was like no touch at all.
Correct. Everybody was adapting to the new reality, right? So if it was only me trying to do that, no way.
Yes.
It's not going to work. The whole world was adapting. Yeah. So it kind of helped everybody to move along the journey, and we actually returned Asia Pacific to growth. Mm-hmm. And earlier this year, I was actually given the option to say, hey, would you like to lead up Public Sector International for Maxar?
Oh, wow.
What that really means is outside of US government and outside of a handful of 10 odd countries, the rest of the world is all under Public Sector International, including all of Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Latin America. Wow. So that's, but again, my experience with IBM, having done the growth markets unit, which actually included at that time as well Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Latin America, and then the global role, was a natural fit for me, for me able to do that. I knew what needed to be done. It was a question of adapting again to the new teams and the new clients and all of that stuff. But having done that, with Asia Pacific, it was not the challenge. So so we're on our way for another great year for 2022.
And that's exactly what I wish to Maxar, and obviously being one of those, as I said, the leading company in regards of the services they provide. But rather than me once again explaining about Maxar, so for the people who are watching or listening to this episode, can you explain and cover some of the Maxar products?
Yeah, so Maxar, in one sentence, I would say is a company that is focused on Earth intelligence and space infrastructure,
Yeah.
right? So there's two halves to that story. On the space infrastructure side, we are a full-service satellite design, build, manufacture, manage, and operate full-service company when it comes to satellites, right? And the best example of the work that we have done is probably seen in the Intelsat satellites. Almost their entire range of satellites have actually been designed, built, manufactured. We do use launch partners, of course, for these satellites, but it's been a terrific journey on that front from a space infrastructure standpoint. And the reason I mention space infrastructure is, that's the part of the Maxar company that's actually helping us build the Legion satellites, which are meant for Maxar and its clients to use. And I'll talk about that on the Earth intelligence side. So the second half of the story is the Earth intelligence side, where we actually own our own satellites, previously manufactured by others, but the Legion constellation is completely designed and manufactured in-house. And the beauty of this Earth intelligence business is that we are able to image different portions of the Earth as the satellites go around the Earth, and we're able to image the Earth to be able to better understand our planet, to come up with new insights as and when new events occur on the planet.
And the key here word is to mention precision mapping.
Correct, absolutely. So, what is Maxar known for is best-in-class resolution, 30 centimeter class. We were the first to achieve that. We continue to have the lead in that, and we will continue to, maintain that lead that we have, with the Legion constellation, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's not just the resolution; it's also about the accuracy. Right? There's no point in saying that there is a road there, but you're off by 5 meters or 10 meters. There's a range in which you can actually be there. Our accuracy level is typically less than 3 meters. Right? So it's best in class, right?
Well, we saw that yesterday during it's phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, and a picture tells a better story than my words, right? So that's why I emphasize.
Well, we'll include it. Just sorry for the people. We'll include the image because we have to see it to believe.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, absolutely, absolutely. So what's exciting, looking ahead for Maxar is the impending launch of our Legion satellites. There are going to be 6 of those Legion satellites. We'll be launching 2 at a time, starting the 4th quarter of 22. Which will basically increase the 30 centimeter capacity that we have on the orbit, right? Now, what would that allow us to do? It basically allows us to create the world in 3D. This is an ambition that we have for ourselves. We are well down that path. It'll take us a couple more years to complete that, but imagine the whole world, in 3D, right?
So sorry for that. So just you mentioned yesterday also mentioned applications using that 3D. So for people also they're thinking, why do they need a 3D? You mentioned some using gaming applications.
Yeah.
So where do you see those 3D applications could be used in what cases?
Yeah. So 3D, of course, you need that in the defense and intelligence space, right? So let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
With
the obvious one.
The obvious one. Right? You need to be precise, right? Before you press any trigger, right? And it's not just the X, Y. You also need the Z to be able to target that correctly. There's no point in just going about 100 meters or something and missing your target. You absolutely need all 3. On the enterprise side of things, we're actually reaching a very interesting phase in the world where the level of interest in the metaverse, in the gaming and simulation area is really taking off.